This is the Projekt Gemineye update, brought to you by Riffical Records. And here's your host, Mark Anthony K. Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 119 of the Projekt Gemineye update. So this update's going to be a bit of a mixed bag again, but before we get to the business at hand, I feel it very important for me to do my own little short tribute to Mr. Eddie Van Halen. As we know, he has passed away. Very surprisingly, I don't think anybody really saw it coming. I know we knew that he was sick for a couple of years, battling different forms of cancer, but I don't think that anybody generally thought that he was going to be gone this soon. But that's life, right? We don't know when people are going to go. Sometimes they go quicker than we could possibly imagine. Eddie Van Halen for me was extremely important. When I was a young guitar player, I remember vividly, and I think I said this before on a podcast, probably the Kiss podcast, or maybe it was probably the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast when we talked about Van Halen on that episode. I remember hearing something blaring out of some guy's Trans Am when I was younger, when I was about 15 years old. This unbelievable guitar solo coming out of this guy's car, and at like ear-bleeding levels. I couldn't believe how loud this guy had in his car. And right after this guitar solo was done, it went into You Really Got Me. I came to figure out that was Van Halen 1, and when I picked up this album, it completely changed everything. I mean, there's been a few records that I've come across in my life that has had the same impact as that. Black Sabbath 1, when I first started guitar, was heavily influential to me. But Van Halen 1 completely changed my outlook on guitar soloing and just playing in general. It was unbelievable what this guy was able to do with a guitar. And his songwriting was fantastic. He was a great backup singer, great keyboard player too. I mean, the guy could do everything. It was very, very impressive, to say the least. And, it really affected my playing. I mean, if I ever do any sort of two-handed tapping stuff, it's directly out of the Eddie Van Halen book for sure. Because he seems to do like these little triplet triad things, and that's what I do. Lots of other people do different things like multi-finger tapping and stuff like that, but I tended to stick to more the, Eddie Van Halen style of doing things. Not to say that I could ever do it as good as him, but he was definitely a big, big, big influence on me, so it was very heartbreaking to hear him go. But really quickly, just to show my collection that I have, I don't have a lot on vinyl, surprisingly, just because I never felt the urgency to buy it because Van Halen records are so abundant out in the wild that it's not like you ever have to like snatch one when you see one, because you're never going to see one again, right? But that's more with the Van Halen Sammy era. Those records are really hard to find, some of them, and they'll have to be picked up sooner or later to clear up to fill my discography of Van Halen stuff. So I'll just show you really quickly what I have. This is 1984 on the Warner Brothers label. I believe this is a Canadian pressing. Yes, it is. Yep. It's a pretty standard pressing. Canadian. Sounds good. I know there's lots of other pressings of this record that are probably, superior, I'm sure. But Van Halen to me has never been one of those bands that made audiophile albums. Let's just put it that way. It's not like you simply must get this German pressing because it sounds incredible. Like, they were never really about that. They were a straight ahead rock and roll band. For the first couple of records, Edward was in one side of the mix and the other side was Michael Anthony, so it wasn't really, they weren't going for audiophiles. They were going for more live feel records, and that's exactly what they did, especially this album, Women and Children First. This album is notorious for being very raw, very slapdash. There's mistakes all over the place on this record, believe it or not. See, this is a Canadian pressing. There's the man right in the middle with that shark guitar, the ever popular shark guitar. Let me just check here, just out of curiosity. This is a Canadian pressing. I don't know if it's really a early one or not, but still, I mean, I put it on, it sounds good. And I believe, yeah, it's a Quality Records pressing, and not the new quality. We're talking about the old school. Oh, and this is a lacquer channel pressing. I can see the TLC in the dead wax. So there you go. Tribute to the people at the lacquer channel, which I'll be talking about them in a minute, actually, ironically enough. So that's Women and Children First. That is the third Van Halen album. I believe 1984 was the sixth or seventh album. Anyways, here's a Van Halen 2. Canadian pressing, I'm sure. On the white Warner Brothers. Just curious to see if there's any information on this that I might notice anything of. This is, yeah, Canadian. I think I already said that. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. Is there any giveaway information? No. This just seems like a pretty standard Canadian pressing. Again, these albums, you can probably find them, in every record store, mom and pop record store. It probably has a couple of these albums sitting in there. Now we get to the main record that has inspired me and was started this whole thing off, Van Halen 1. Now this is a sort of interesting pressing because this is a Canadian pressing. There you go. And this one, though, is not on the Warner Brothers label that you normally see. This is on the Warner Brothers Burbank one, which I think denotes that this is a pretty early copy of this album. So there you go. And in all honesty, it sounds great. I mean, it sounds fine to me. There's nothing that sort of stands out to say this is the go-to copy or anything like that. But it sounds good. It's interesting to get a copy that's earlier like this. Sorry, I think I keep tapping the base of my microphone, so I hope I'm not, popping people's ears or something if you're listening to it on headphones or whatever, this conversation. Let me just put this back. But talking about Van Halen 1, to show you the extent of how much I love this record, I've only bought test pressings for a very few amount of albums out there in the wild, and Van Halen 1 is one of them. And it was not cheap to get this test pressing because while the commercial releases are abundant, test pressings are very not abundant in the Van Halen way of things. I mean, as far as collecting Van Halen, test pressings are not too abundant, at least I don't find. So when I was able to get one from my friend at a record store, I jumped on it. This is the test pressing for Van Halen 1. There you'll see the schematics, the track listing, and the information, blah, 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 blah. Here is the actual test pressing itself. There you go. Side 1. Side 2. Now, I'll say this, though, about this. Having heard this album numerous times, and I mean numerous times, this test pressing sounds really, really good. much better than the commercial release, which it should be, because think about it, you're trying to impress the band with the, you know, the sound of this, so you're going to give them the best possible pressing quality that you can. And yeah, this definitely is that. It sounds incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, I don't believe this is the final version of the record, because Atomic Punk on here sounds a bit different than the one that's on album. There's a little bit more phaser effect present in this one, and I think David's vocals are a bit more back in the mix on this version, so it's a bit different on this one. That's what makes it kind of special, though. So and there are a little bit differences like that in the mix, mainly with vocals being not so loud as the commercial release. So it's interesting to have. So Eddie, we're gonna miss you. I'm especially gonna miss Eddie, because not only was he a great musician, a lot of the stuff that he did for guitar in general was amazing. The Wolfgang guitar, the EVH 5150 amps that came out are amazing, though. The Frankenstein pickups that he made, I mean, I can go on and on. His impact on music, the MXR Edward Van Halen phaser pedal that I have because of him. So yeah, rest in peace, my friend. Okay, so we're already 11 minutes in, so I better get rolling here. Projekt Gemineye. The mixes are all done for the record. It's on to mastering, and it sounds really good. I've listened to it a few times. I might do a little tweak here and there or something, but as far as I'm concerned, the mixes are done. These little tweaks are just a matter of, like, you know, maybe pushing up something by like 1 dB or something, and that's nothing major. That's just like a 2-second correction, right? So the mixes are done. We're ready for mastering. Speaking of done, the first single, Sacred Sons, will be played this Friday on Check It Out on progrock.com. If you want to hear the song before it's released, like I said, this Friday on progrock.com, the show Check It Out, you can hear Sacred Sons played on that show. On Monday, Thanksgiving Monday, the song will be released on the Bandcamp site and is available to buy for a whole $1.99 Canadian. So I'm hoping that you guys will support the single. I think it's a great song. It does have Mr. Joe Bailey singing vocals with me on it. Together we each do a verse. I believe that's his. No, he does the verse. I do the pre-choruses and the choruses. You'll hear it. And Mr. Lee Pomeroy is playing bass. Amazing stuff. You got to hear it. You're going to love it. Okay? Where was I going with this? Yeah, so Monday the single comes out. The reason why I mentioned the whole supporting of the single, I did get a hold of Mr. Kevin Park at Lacquer Channel. I told you I was going to come back to that. And luckily, he did remember that I was talking about working on another record, and he has lacquers available for me for this new record. So that's a weight off my shoulders, because there's still trouble getting lacquers, believe me, after that fire that happened a long time ago. So there is a shortage of it still, but luckily he has some available for me. So there will be a vinyl pressing of Book 2. Yay! But of course, due to the fact that the availability is getting scarcer and scarcer, he was not able to give me a independent artist discount this time. It is going to be maybe about $100 more than I normally pay, which is a little expensive. So I'm hoping that you guys might be willing to, you know, support through buying the single. You know, if you see another single or something on the site that you haven't bought yet, you know, now might be the time, because I'll be putting all of this money towards the lacquer cut. I'll be putting that aside. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the CDs as well for the full album, and a lot of that, you know, covers the CD costs. But I'm hoping that you guys can, you know, support the single, and doing that will support in many ways, whether it goes to the CDs and I don't have to pay as much for the CDs. You know how it works. The contributions will go to the things that I need to cover. And right now the lacquer has gone up a bit So I'm hoping that you guys will, show some support, which you guys usually always do, in helping me out in that venture. Okay. Now that brings me, excuse me, now brings me to the last topic, and that is the cover songs that I did for this record. Now, before I go to that, the poll that we did about the lathe cut record that's going to come out for Record Store Day, I did look into doing the cover songs, but I don't think I'm going to go down that route, and I'll tell you why. To get the licensing to do 6-7 songs is going to be a lot. And I mean, some of these songs are not just like, they're not just Joe Blow songs. I mean, I did songs by, David Bowie, and I did songs from Queen and stuff like that. So it's not like they're going to be like, they're not just going to give it to me for $50 here, dude. Go and you can press it. It's more than that. I remember from when I did a cover of a Rush song years back, we got a licensing agreement from or mechanical license deal from Anthem Records for one of the songs. I think it was "Losing It" we did a cover of, and it was like over $100 to get the license for that one song, and it was only for a year. So you can imagine if I have a EP of like 7 songs, it could be more than $100 for the song, depending on what it is, and it's going to get pricey. So for now, I'm going to just do my own material on it, and I'll make sure I do some kind of a remix or something, but I'll make it special too. I put some of the Christmas songs on there. They've never been released, so stuff like that. Okay, now moving on to the covers I'm doing now for this. I don't know if I've ever mentioned yet who the artists are that I'm doing, but I'm going to announce it here. And more than that, I'm going to also show what albums the songs are from, but I'm not going to tell you what the songs are. That you're going to have to start thinking about. So, the first band that I did for this, and I did 3 songs, is Kiss. There's the image. And the album, I bet you didn't think that I would be doing something from this album. That's right. The song is from the Destroyer album. So, it could be one of 9. The second band that I did, I'm trying to think here for a second. How did I do this in order here? So I did Kiss. Oh, yeah. And then I did David Bowie. And the song that I'm doing is off of this album. That's right. Hunky Dory. Fantastic album. I love that album very much. And there's a lot of great songs on there. That could be one of them that I'd done. And yeah, so one of those ones off that album is the cover. And the third one is a band that I haven't touched yet. And that is Black Sabbath. And the album that I selected the song from is, that's right, Volume 4. Great album. Some people say it's even like the last really good Sabbath album that they did with Ozzy. I don't know. That's up for debate in my opinion. But it's a fantastic record because I really like Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath as well. But Volume 4 is the album that this song is from. So there you go. Those are the cover songs. They will be available via download card when you buy the vinyl copy of the record. So that's one of the things that's exclusive to the vinyl buying is the download card, and you get to hear the additional 3 songs then. So I think that's it for now. I wanted to keep this under 20 minutes, and I successfully have. So let's just wrap things up here then, and then I'll talk to you guys very soon again. There's a lot to talk about because things are wrapping up, and a lot to move forward to, including Record Store Day. That's coming up with the Lathe Cut record. Oh, and did I mention I'm doing a Christmas EP? Yeah, that's going to be coming up too. I'll talk to you guys about that soon as well. So have a good day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.